In honor of flower community today, our music is all flower related. And this is Edelweiss, but it's not the Edelweiss that you know from the Sound of Music, but this is an earlier piece written by Polish composer Natalia Janota, who took lessons with the fabled Clara Schumann and dedicated this piece to her. So this is Edelweiss. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Barbara.
Well, welcome to Summit Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Mary Carter Vail. I have the honor of serving here as the Director of Religious Exploration, which means I work with the children and families and youth at Summit, and anybody who wants to explore, right? Religious exploration, that's what we do. So welcome to Summit. Today is our annual RE Sunday, and so everybody's welcome, no matter where you are on your path. This is the place for you to come and explore and discover and journey together with us as we all learn what our faith paths are. And today, we're celebrating a very specific ritual that has been unique to our faith for 101 years. And Pastor Casey is going to talk a lot more about that during her sermon. It is also all ages in the service. So all of our children are here. And over here, I have a little garden that I made. It's a flower garden. And all ages are welcome to come down to the flower garden at any time and quietly enjoy the flowers. That includes adults. You're not quite picking them yet, but we are going to pick them. Although I did make a bunch of these little woven crowns that you can put a few flowers in if you would like to have a flower crown. So there's a whole bunch of them down there, so you're welcome to make one of those at any point during the service. Just quietly get up and make them. And a lot of the flowers that are here today, we had a memorial here yesterday for Rachel Lewine. And some of the flowers, like these beautiful flowers that are here today, were brought in her memory. And I know that she would have wanted us to continue to use them for the flower ceremony. So in memory of Rachel and flowers and all their beauty, and you will learn more about that shortly. So before we get started, I have a couple of announcements. Margot, do you want to make an announcement on here? So Margot, and who else? It was Erin and then Casey. And then I have one too. So. Come out to the mic. Come up to the mic. Come up to the mic, Margot. Come up to the mic, please. Right over here. Give a hand.
Most of the time, I have a loud enough voice that I can shout.
Zoom can't hear you, though.
Anyway, good morning. I just want to, it's written up in the newsletter, and I think it's put out in the monthly. I just want to remind you, next Saturday from 10 to noon, I'm scheduled to do a workshop called Accessing the Gifts of Your Own Intuition. You are all intuitive. It's part of your right brain. It's already there, so come learn how to wake it up. Use it, have practical tools to guide your own life and others. I'll do it for as few as 3 or 4 people, but you'd appreciate knowing who's going to come. So when we show up, that there'll be somebody there. So anyway, you can give me a call. I'm listed Margot Mariana, listed in the directory, or email me, or you can call Eleanor. Okay? So come discover your intuition. Thank you.
What time is it at?
10 to noon.
10 to noon, next Saturday. In the salon? Probably.
Good morning. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
I'm Erin. I am the co-chair of the Social Justice in Action Committee. You want to introduce yourself?
Good morning. I'm Nathalie Johnston. I'm also in the Social Justice Committee.
Once a month, the second Sunday of the month, we have our monthly meeting, and today it's 12 o'clock in the Summit Library, and it's on Zoom. That Zoom link can be found in the Scene at Summit. Today we're going to be talking about the Santee Pride Walk, which is coming up Saturday, June 22nd, around 10 a.m. It's the second annual one in Santee. This is a big deal for East County. Last year we had over 300 people show. It's sponsored by Santee Methodists. So if you want to hear about it, come talk to us today. We have a booth and a table this year. Yay. So if you're interested, we want to get Summit's name out. If you're interested, we might need a little help. We have a few people staffing the table, but maybe stuff like a cooler or candy donations. And if you are very decorative, to maybe help us decorate the table, Mark Weedman will be helping us set up. Also, another thing we're going to talk about today is You the Vote and campaigning, and Nathalie, getting people to vote. Nathalie will talk about that.
Hi, I'm very passionate about politics this year, as a lot of people are. And so I've been working with the Vote and Indivisible to write postcards, sending them to people that aren't registered, people that may be registered but are sitting on the fence. And so we're going to get our group together to do postcarding. And when we have a date, we'll let y'all know so you can join us and we can make a big party of it, writing some postcards for voting. Thank you.
Also, if you are interested in donating stamps, we have some that'll be a cause too. So again, please join us today at 12 so we can make some changes here in East County.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Casey Marie Pandell. I am the minister here at Summit. Just a quick reminder that covenant group signups for next year have already begun. If you would like to be in a covenant group, which is one of our small group conversations that happen monthly based on the theme that we're using in our services, please reach out to either me or Laura Lisa Gainsborough, and we'll be able to get you in a group. We have a couple folks here who have come because of those groups. So if you would like to learn more about this community and about people and UU in general, that's a really great way to do it. It gives you an opportunity to discuss how you feel about things and explore your own theology and interests outside of these walls.
And I have one more announcement. Today at 2 o'clock probably in the salon. We're still yes, in the salon. Yes, in the salon. Casey and I are offering mocktail making, not cocktails, mocktail making. It's mocktail making and spring roll making for our youth and young adults. So youth and young adults is anybody in their teens through 35. It's a big group. But yeah, yeah. So we're doing that at 2 o'clock. So if anybody wants to come, I'm making spring rolls. I used to be a professional chef. Casey used to be a professional bartender. So we're bringing our skills to bear. And it's going to be just a fun social event. So please join us at 2 o'clock in the salon. So I'd like to take a minute to do a land acknowledgement. You know, we are residing on unceded Kumeyaay land. And the Kumeyaay people have been on this land for more than 10,000 years. In fact, their community is divided by a border. Their language was changed by the border. They're still here. They work as ranchers, as doctors, as any job you could possibly imagine. The descendants and the continuing existence of the Kumeyaay people are here on the land that we're on. So I encourage you all to learn more about the people who originally lived on and still live on this land and to honor their presence here. Okay, so we're going to start today with a song because it is a Children's Sunday. I wanted to let you know before we start the full service that they picked every element that we're using, our children and youth picked. We have a lot of young ones who are very shy about speaking. So you'll see a lot more of me speaking than the kids, but those that are bravely going to do it are going to help. And we met with Pastor Casey, 3 weeks ago, and planned this whole service. So every element was picked by our children and our musician. We had some very good input for our music from Barbara. So
Thank you, Barbara.
yes. Yeah. So let's get started by singing together. So our first song, if you are, you may rise if you're willing and able, is "Come Sing a Song with Me." It's number 346 in the gray hymnal, or you're welcome to just see the words behind me, hopefully. Yes, there they are. So sing and enjoy. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you home. Thank you. I'd like to invite up Aisling and Logan to come help with lighting the chalice. You can stand up to the mic. Come on here, Logan. You want to come over here, Logan? Come on over here and help. You want to help read? You want a light? Come up, it's a big thing to come up here in front of all these people. I'm going to light the candle, and then we're going to light that. All right, go ahead whenever you're ready, Ashley. You can read.
Within the heart of the flower, the fountain of beauty was within the heart of the community, a fire that warms and dances within the heart of each of us, a spark of the sprint of life. Holy, holy, holy.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. You can take that with you. Good job. First chalice lighting time. That was awesome. Please rise as you're willing and able and join us in singing our UU hymn, followed by our aspiration. The word should be Come, all who dwell below the skies, let faith and hope and love arise. Let beauty, truth, and good be sung through every lip by every tongue. De todos bajo el brazo, todos todos de amor, piedad y cosa cantando, de cada tierra, cada voz. May love be the spirit of this fellowship. May the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration.
Now is the portion of our service where we hold each other's joys and sorrows. Whether it's your first visit or your 5,000th visit, you are whole, you are holy, you are loved, and you are so welcome here. Your joys or concerns can be emailed or texted to me throughout the week or written up at the chancel on a Sunday. Laura Nelson shares a sorrow, stating that her former mother-in-law has passed away, and she asks that we keep her and her family in our hearts. Lynn Feinberg shares that her next corneal surgery is this coming Wednesday at 11 a.m. She asks for any healing thoughts and that the kind and generous Summit community has to offer her. Lynn, we hold you in our hearts and hope for a speedy recovery. Chris Rask reminds us that it is Pride Month, and while this is a time of celebration for and of our LGBTQ family, he reminds us that there is also a rise of homophobia and transphobia, and that he hopes that all allies will make sure to take the time to remind their LGBTQ friends and family that they are loved, valued, and respected. And finally, Jim Weed shares that today is Eleanor's birthday. And may we all join him in wishing his best friend happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We know that not all joys and concerns are shared aloud today. We hold you in our hearts as we leave this place and throughout the week. And now Mary will come for our Time for All Ages.
I know this isn't allowed, but can I add a million sorry, I just want to let everybody know that our family is
Can you come up to the mic? You did, that's a big one, so come up to the mic.
Our family is moving to Portland, Oregon. So we'll still be here. We're transitioning this summer. And I'll be starting a new job, and I'm very excited, and our kids are very excited. And we are very sad.
And excited.
We are happy sad.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Not sure what's happened here, but here, Gabriel.
So it is very much a joy. Oh, jeez. Okay, here. All right, that's it. That's our joy and sorrow.
It's a joy and sorrow for all of us as well. So the Lindhams have been here for what? Yeah, how old's Wesley now? Wesley's 7, so 8 years. Oh, and now Theo found fire. Okay, Theo, I need you off of here, buddy. Come on. He's full of everything today. I mean, 2 kind of takes it up a notch, doesn't it? So we're very glad you've been with us for all this time, Jen, and we'll be sad, and we're also excited for you. So all children in the service means all children in the service, including 2-year-olds who like to play with fire. So we just put that away. He's just super curious. So today I have a story that our children picked out. Sam Russell was going to read for us, but didn't realize that she's already scheduled an overnight, so you know. So that was a priority for Sam, which I get. But the story they all picked out when I told them it was a flower communion was this story, Chrysanthemum. So if any of the kids want to help me tell this story, you can. But there is a repeated line that I'm going to say over and over again. You'll catch on, and when you hear it, you can join us. Let's see if we have our images. If we don't, are we going to get it? We just have to switch to different. Somehow Theo got us off the monitor. There it is. We have one side. Okay, good. You guys want to help me? Yes. I struggled with this one today. So this is, yes. So this is Chrysanthemum by Kevin Henkes, I believe is how it's pronounced. Henkes, okay. And you can see it up here on the wall. I hopefully put all the pictures on there. We'll see. It's a little bit of a struggle today. So Chris, I'll just signal to you when it's time to switch. Okay. The day she was born was the happiest day of her parents' lives. She's perfect, said her mother. Absolutely, said her father. And she was. She was absolutely perfect. Her name must be everything, said her mother. Her name must be absolutely perfect, said her father. And it was. Chrysanthemum. Her parents named her Chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum grew and grew and grew. And when she was old enough to appreciate it, Chrysanthemum loved her name. She loved the way it sounded when her mother woke her up. She loved the way it sounded when her father called her for dinner. And she loved the way it sounded when she whispered to herself in the bathroom mirror. Can you say it with me? Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Okay. Chrysanthemum loved the way her name looked when it was written with ink on an envelope. She loved the way it looked when it was written with icing on her birthday cake. And she loved the way it looked when she wrote it herself in her fat orange crayon. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum thought that her name was absolutely perfect. And she started school. And then she started school. On her first day, Chrysanthemum wore her sunniest dress and her brightest smile, and she ran all the way to school. Hooray, said Chrysanthemum, school! But when Miss Chud took roll call, everyone giggled upon hearing Chrysanthemum's name. Now, you can see the names here. There's Dawn and Evie, Lois, Al, Les. Did you see? It is a Pokemon's name. Very true. Kay, Max, Sue, Bill, Pat, Tom, Sam, Ken, Joe, Rita, Victoria, and Chrysanthemum. Next page. It's so long, said Joe. It scarcely fits on your name tag, said Rita, pointing. I'm named after my grandmother, said Victoria. You're named after a flower. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and informed Mrs. Chudd that Chrysanthemum's name was spelled with 13 letters. That's exactly half as many letters as there are in the entire alphabet, Victoria explained. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Chudd. Now put your head down. If I had a name like yours, I'd change it, Victoria said, and as the students lined up to go home. I wish I could, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. My name is too long. It scarcely fits on my name tag, and I'm named after a flower. Oh, pish, said her mother. Your name is beautiful, and precious, and priceless, and fascinating, and winsome, said her father. It's everything you are, said her mother. Absolutely perfect, said her father. Chrysanthemum felt much better after her favorite dinner, macaroni and cheese with ketchup. And yeah, not my favorite, but we all have our own yums, right? And an evening filled with hugs and kisses and parcheesi. And that night, Chrysanthemum dreamed that her name was Jane, and it was an extremely pleasant dream. Okay, next one. The next morning, Chrysanthemum wore her comfortable jumper. She walked to school slowly as she could. She dragged her feet in the dirt. Chrysanthemum, 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 she wrote. She even looks like a flower, said Victoria as Chrysanthemum entered the playground. Let's pick her, said Rita, pointing. Let's smell her, said Joe. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. The rest of the day was not much better. During nap time, Victoria raised her hand and said, a chrysanthemum is a flower. It lives in a garden with worms and other dirty things. Thank you for sharing that with us, Victoria, said Mrs. Chudd. Now put your head down. Mrs. Chudd is quite a smart teacher sometimes, huh? I just cannot believe your name, Victoria said as the students lined up to go home. Neither can I, thought Chrysanthemum miserably. Welcome home, said her mother. Welcome home, said her father. School is no place for me, said Chrysanthemum. They said I even looked like a flower, and they pretended to pick me and smell me. Oh, pish, said her mother. They're just jealous and envious and begrudging and discontented and jaundiced, said her father. Who would be jealous of a name like yours, said her mother. After all, it's absolutely perfect. Chrysanthemum felt a trifle better after her favorite dessert, chocolate cake with buttercream icing, and another evening filled with hugs, kisses, and parcheesi. But that night, Chrysanthemum dreamed she really was a chrysanthemum. She sprouted leaves and petals, and Victoria picked her and plucked the leaves and petals one by one until there was nothing left but a scrawny stem. It was the worst nightmare of Chrysanthemum's life. Chrysanthemum wore her outfit with 7 pockets the next morning. She loaded the pockets with her most prized possessions and her good luck charms. Chrysanthemum took the longest possible route to school, and she stopped and she stared at each and every flower. Chrysanthemum, 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 the flowers seemed to say. Next slide. Now that morning, the students were introduced to Mrs. Twinkle, the music teacher. Her voice was like something out of a dream, as was everything else about her. The students were speechless. They thought Mrs. Twinkle was an indescribable wonder. They went out of their way to make a nice impression. Mrs. Twinkle led the students in scales, and then she assigned roles for the class musicale. Victoria was chosen as the dainty fairy queen. Rita was chosen as the spiffy butterfly princess. Jo was chosen as the all-important pixie messenger, and Chrysanthemum was chosen as a daisy. Chrysanthemum's a daisy, chrysanthemum's a daisy, Jo and Rita and Victoria chanted, thinking it was wildly funny. Chrysanthemum wilted. She did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She thought it was absolutely dreadful. What's so humorous? Asked Mrs. Twinkle. Chrysanthemum, they answered. Her name's so long, said Jo. It scarcely fits on her name tag, said Rita, pointing. I'm named after my grandfather, said Victoria. She's named after a flower. My name is Long, said Mrs. Twinkle. It is? Asked Jo. My name would scarcely fit on a name tag, said Mrs. Twinkle. It would, said Rita, pointing. And, said Mrs. Twinkle, I'm named after a flower, too. You are? Said Victoria. Yes, said Mrs. Twinkle. My name is Delphinium. Delphinium Twinkle. And if my baby is a girl, I'm considering Chrysanthemum as a name. I think it's absolutely perfect. Chrysanthemum could scarcely believe her ears. She blushed. She beamed. She bloomed. Chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum, chrysanthemum. Jo and Rita and Victoria looked at Chrysanthemum longingly. Call me Marigold, said Jo. I am Carnation, said Rita, pointing. My name is Lily of the Valley, said Victoria. Chrysanthemum did not think her name was absolutely perfect. She knew it. Oh, I stopped telling you. I got so involved in the story, I forgot to get you to switch screens. One more. See there, she knows it. Look at her. And one more. Here's our epilogue. Overall, the class musicale was a huge success. Chrysanthemum was absolutely perfect as a daisy. Victoria made only one mistake. She completely forgot her lines as the dainty fairy queen. And Chrysanthemum thought it was wildly funny, and she giggled through the entire Dance of the Flowers. Eventually, Miss Twinkle gave birth to a healthy baby girl, and of course, she named her Chrysanthemum. So we picked that story because that was a story about, how unique each of us is. Now there's two chrysanthemums, so there's not only one in the world. What do you guys think of that story? Funny. Yeah. It's funny, but there's some big feelings in there. Sometimes people at school can be mean, right? Yeah, and what did Chrysanthemum do? She talked to the adults who she trusted, right? And in the end, Mrs. Twinkle came in and helped support her in the classroom and turned things around for her, didn't she? So this was a great story that you guys picked. So thank you so much for picking this story and for helping us share it today. All right, you can go play with flowers or see where we're at next. Okay, so I'm going to need some helpers for this next part. Some kids would like to help me. We're gonna sing a song. So Barbara's going to teach us a little bit about the song first. Is this?
And we need helpers we need kid helpers for this.
Yeah, we need helpers to bring in the flowers.
Oh, actually, for this, the hymn's very short. And then I have flower music that's later.
Got it. We'll do it during the second flower
Can we
music.
stay seated for this one?
Sure.
Because, this is, can you guys hear me?
Nope. Can we turn on Barbara's mic?
Since this is intergenerational, and since all of us have an inner child, mine made me do this, I think we need motions for this next one. This next one the words are incredibly short. If you can pop it back up on the screen. We're going to sing it through twice, just because that's the only way to make it work. But The idea of the flower communion is we are getting and we are giving from each other, and it seemed like this a perfect time for hand movements. So from you I receive, left hand, and look to your left, but kind of look at the people on your right too, okay? To you I give. Together, put your arms together like a big hug, we share, and for this we live. And then the second time through, we're going to start on the right. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and for this we live. Let's do both right. Sides.
Now I can use some helpers. You want me to go get the helpers? We do. They're outside. We're going to go get them. Anybody want to come help me? Kids, you want to come help me carry some flowers in? Let's grab all the flowers.
While the flowers are coming in, because I don't want to leave you in suspense, the prayer that I'm going to say over our flowers to bless our flowers are not my words. You'll learn a little bit more about Norbert Chapek in just a little bit when I do the sermon, but Norbert Chapek is the reason we have the flower communion. The words that I am going to bless our flowers with are the words that Norbert Chapek used 101 years ago to bless the flowers when he started doing the flower communion. So please join me in a time of silent prayer, meditation, or reflection. If you have any flowers that you have not had a chance to bring up to add to our flower communion, please feel free to rise and do so now. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire and affection and devotion to thy holy will. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of thy most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of others' talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whatever we do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do thy work in this world. Amen. And now our children, just like 101 years ago when Chapek did this for his congregation, our children are going to help distribute the flowers. And Mary, let's make sure our hardworking musician gets one. Of course. So this is a good time to just enjoy the sounds of joyful children and to enjoy some reflective space together. You're free to chat if you'd like, but if it gets too rowdy, I'm going to have to hit the bell. And please rise in mind, body, or spirit to join in singing our next hymn, hymn 78, Color and Fragrance. And I think Barbara has a little she wants to say about it.
Well, actually, just since your words before the flower communion were the words of Norbert Chapek, this is his hymn that he wrote. So, we'll sort of the meaning of who this person is, I'm sure will become clear during Pastor Casey's words later, but enjoy.
And it's not one we sing often, so grab your hymnals. It's the gray hymnal. Depending on your proximity to Unitarian Universalist tradition, the flower communion that we have been participating in bit by bit today may be completely foreign to you, comfortably familiar, or something of an old friend. For me, it is one of my favorite parts of our annual worship. Initially, because this was in my home congregation, a nice departure from the standard Easter service, and I'm a sucker for pretty flowers. You mean to tell me I didn't have to listen to the resurrection story and I got to take a flower home? That was an absolute win in my book 7 years ago. But wait a minute, it's not Easter today, is it? So what gives? I'm not exactly sure when or how the flower communion and Easter became conflated with each other in our faith. That certainly was not Chapek's original intention. And as I'm a sucker for ritual too, clearing the air about my favorite piece of Unitarian Universalist liturgy felt pretty important. Now, if all the flower communion is to you is an exchanging of gifts in community, that is more than okay. There's a lot of love in this ritual. Flowers are often chosen with care, both those people bring to the service and the ones they choose to leave with. We can bask in the beauty of the flora, and it generally adds a nice little pop of color, and if you take a nice deep breath, something of a lovely fragrance today, too. A splash of joy in the everyday is absolutely worth celebrating. But the story is a lot bigger than that. It all started with a humble Czech minister, Norbert Čapek, who, after many moons and a faith journey that traversed the Roman Catholics and the Baptists before finally leading him to Unitarianism by way of the free Christian tradition, but not before he faced 2 heresy charges from the Baptists. By 1921, he and his wife Maja were then living in the United States, and he determined it was time to bring Unitarianism home, bringing it back to Prague, at a time where Prague was recovering from war and trying to find its foundation in new days. Čapek's new congregation in Prague, in a lot of ways, probably would have looked pretty familiar to our own, fashion trends notwithstanding. Not only was it an exceptionally liberal congregation for its time, the worship services were much more TED Talk, much less sermon. Čapek likely wore a suit and a stole, but no traditional robes or vestments, and there wasn't much to be seen as far as ritual was concerned. There were no hymns, there were no required prayers, even decorations in the church were scant. It wouldn't be completely out of the realm of possibility that there were avowed agnostics and atheists in the pews, though they were probably a little more quiet about it than we are. While it spoke to the folks in attendance every weekend, in many ways it lacked a certain sense of spirituality. Does that sound familiar to anyone here in this room or on Zoom? So as a way to bring a different and a new dimensionality to their worship, knowing full well that a regular weekly communion of bread and wine was not going to cut it for his folks, Čapek concocted a different sort of ritual, one that had the intention of bringing together the community in a way that they had never been brought together before. He encouraged his parishioners to bring in flowers from their gardens, picked by the roadside, in a meadow or a field, wherever they felt drawn to. Each person was asked to bring the flowers to the front, and they were placed not individually upon a table, but in shared baskets brought forth by a pair of children. About the midway point, Čapek placed his hands over the blooms, saying the words of the prayer that you heard earlier and blessing them. Later, children returned the baskets, and upon exit, each congregant was asked to take a flower with them, particularly one different from the one they brought. And it was a rousing success, such that every other Unitarian congregation in the nation eventually took up the same ritual. Now, there's been some discussion as whether or not the practice was borrowed from America, but the communion we have today is very specifically Čapek's, in part because of the symbolism of the varying flowers was meant to coincide with the diversity and inclusion that they sought. The random choice of parting flower, a symbol that we don't always get to choose our brethren, our loved ones, our beloveds, but we are encouraged to love them all the same. What began as a poignant symbol of community, however, would become an act of powerful resistance. See, Čapek wasn't particularly popular in some circles of wartime Europe, least of all with the Nazis, for whom he had been a sore spot since 1914, when he originally fled to the United States. Despite an invitation to return stateside, in 1939 he remained in Prague, doing the good work he was called to. And in 1942, he and one of his daughters were arrested by the Gestapo. His crime? Listening to foreign broadcasts. but his sermons no doubt had much more to do with it. He was imprisoned in the Priesterblock at Dachau, a section reserved specifically for anti-Nazi clergy, where nearly 3,000 clergy members of various faiths were held. In Čapek's brief time of imprisonment, he held to hope, as did his fellow clerics. While religious expression was trampled at most opportunities, among other religious services managed, there was still a flower communion. So the story goes, using sticks and stones and whatever few valiant wildflowers could be found at Dachau. Prisoners that practiced a multitude of religions coming together in community, despite pain and sorrow and torture, celebrating the diversity of truth, the resilience of their spirit, and the hope for a better day. In the end, Norbert Čapek met his fate on October 30th, 1942, within the cold, cruel walls of Dachau's gas chambers. He became one of over 1,000 clergy killed out of over 32,000 documented deaths in that camp alone. Of his death, American Unitarian Association President Frederick May Elliott wrote, "Another name is added to the list of heroic Unitarian martyrs by whose death our freedom has been bought. Ours is now the responsibility to see to it that we stand fast in the liberty so gloriously won." A plaque now stands at Dachau in his honor, placed by the International Association of Religious Freedom. And still, 101 years and some change later, the flower communion still prevails. No small thanks to Čapek's wife Maja, who kept his spirit and the ritual alive for many years after her husband's death, in her own ordained ministry, and by sharing it widely and joyfully with other Unitarians. So when we celebrate our flower communion so far in the future from Čapek's days, let us remember that it is not only a symbol of community, though community is crucial. It's more than just a symbol of diversity, no matter how much we seek it, but it is a symbol of pure resilience. As we watch the horrors in Palestine continue, with threats of violence towards the West from other countries, and our own boiling political unrests as we head uncertainly into our next election season, may we remember the winter comes hard and fast, without fail and with little mercy. And yet every spring, the flowers return, cracking through cold grounds, reaching towards the warmth of the sun. Čapek may not have seen the liberative world that he and so many others lost their lives fighting for, but the spirit of his heart and strength lives on in our communities, within each of us, in this faith that carries on the tradition of liberation and progressive religion. We are now the keepers of that flame that burned so brightly in the souls of the Čapeks. May we too, as light bearers, keep the flame alight within us, within our community, for the good of this world, especially on the darkest days. So may it be, and amen.
That was beautiful, Casey. So good to hear that history. I mean, I don't know how many of you knew that history, but it's very rich. We now would like to receive the morning offering. You probably haven't done this in a while. Summit is a very special place, especially for children to grow up. And twice a year we do the children's service, where the children help the planet. And the contributions that this community makes allows that to happen. So I want to give deep gratitude to that, and also with deep gratitude receive the morning offering. What have you got for us, Barbara?
This is To a Wild Rose by Edward McDowell.
Lovely, thank you. Thank you all for your generosity. We have a fun song to sing now. Some of you may remember this. The music was by John Denver, words by David Mallet, The Garden Song. So please rise as you are willing and able and join us in singing the Garden Song today. Some people might know it as Inch by Inch. Inch by inch, row by row, someone let this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down. Pulling weeds and picking stones, as they are dreams and bones. Feel the need to grow my home, but the time is close at hand. Rain or gray, sun and rain, find my way in nature's chain. To my body and my brain, to the music from the land. Plant your rose straight and long, thicker than with prayer and song. Mother Earth will make you strong if you give her love and care. Old crow watching hungrily from his perch in yonder tree. In my garden I'm as free as a feathered thing up there. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down.
When we join in this space here together, we are the fertile ground. We are the seeds. May we be blessed to grow a better future together. When we come together in this place, may we always be held in love, in compassion and care, knowing that we can be the love that goes out and changes the world. When we see these beautiful wildflowers, this diverse community is reflected in it. May you be held as you leave here today. Amen, shalom, salam, namaste, ashe, and blessed be. Go now in peace. May the light and flowers within you be a blessing to the world.
Help me with the chapel. And we extinguish this flame, but not the flame of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now we have a very special summit tradition of joining together hand in hand for our closing circle song. Do you want to reach and grab some hands? Try Good job. Okay, 5 minutes? Yes. So you get a 5-minute break. If anybody would like to come back and discuss the service, you're welcome to.